Visibly Sold. We're a thrift store in downtown Eugene, Oregon. This is the new series that I am starting called Lightbox Chats. So here I am in my Lightbox where I take a lot of my online photos. We're gonna have a chat about some of the stuff that I have learned while I've been a reseller. Today I'm going to be talking to you about sourcing. That is one of the biggest topics in the resale universe. It's really important to know how to source good items, know how to source items that people want to buy, and know how to source items that are worth a fair amount of money, because nobody wants to work their butt off for $5. We're going to talk about today the 4 essential questions that every reseller needs to think about when sourcing items. So let's get started. You can have a high definition camera, you can have the top of the line equipment, amazing backgrounds, amazing lighting. You can have everything a professional reseller needs, but if you don't have items that people want to buy, you are not going to do very well as a reseller. So when you choose the items that you're going to sell, you have to really think strategically. First off, we're going to talk about, well, what's trending? You don't need to have like a TikTok account or be a fashionista or have a best friend who's a fashionista. You have Google. So just take a couple minutes once a month, maybe an hour, to just look around and see what's on there on the internet. You can look at websites like Elle Magazine, Harper's Bazaar, other kind of like fashion magazines, even like 17 magazine has teen fashion in it. And just looking at those magazines and trying to figure out what kind of styles are trending, and specifically looking at the upcoming months. Like, knowing what's trending right now is important, but knowing what's trending in about 3 months is about your butter zone to know what people are going to want to buy in the upcoming months. You also need to think about what kind of items do you know. So it's all fine and dandy if you don't know about fashion at all. Just think about the kind of items that you wear on a regular basis and the kind of brands that you interact with. So let's say you're an avid snowboarder and you know a lot of snowboarding brands. That's going to be a great place for you to start to look to see what kind of snowboarding items that you can find, what kind of snowboarding brands are the ones that are selling for a lot of money. You don't have to sell high fashion. Most people, believe it or not, don't really buy any kind of high fashion items. I don't really own anything that's designer like Prada or Gucci or anything like that. I do have some in my closet, but that's because I've learned over time a little bit more about what makes those brands unique and what kind of price points that I can buy and sell them at. So focusing on what you know is going to be a huge thing for developing your own business. Third, you have to figure out what you can find. So you can know all about Gucci and Prada and everything good like that, but if you can't find anything to sell, then that's not really going to do you much good. So look around in your community and figure out what kind of people live in your community and what kind of items can you usually find. If there are a lot of older people in your community, perhaps you can find a lot of awesome vintage stuff. If you have a lot of kids in your community, well, maybe you're going to find a lot of kids' clothing. If more affluent people live in your neighborhood or perhaps a neighborhood over, it might be worth going and checking out to see if you can find any higher end brands. The thing about higher end brands is that usually they are going to be sourced at higher end prices. So don't be surprised if you end up shelling some money out for designer pieces. Taking risks is great, but don't shell out money in case you're really pretty certain that you're going to be able to flip the item. Finally, we're going to talk about, who do you know? So something that I think people really underestimate in business is the idea that you have to make connections in order to get things done. Who you know is really a huge part about what kind of items that you're going to be able to source. The longer that you've been in the business, the more people and the more relationships you're going to be able to cultivate, and the more people that you're going to be able to use to get great deals on great items. Don't be afraid of telling people what you do. I know there's a little bit of like nerves that comes, number one, from asking people for their stuff, and number two, I think that there's a little bit of a tendency to feel like you're going to get judged for doing that kind of thing. Most of the times people are really supportive and tell people about your stuff, because they won't give it to you for free if they don't know that you want it. Lots of times people like to avoid giving stuff to Goodwill or kind of those bigger box stores that kind of have some questionable reputations as far as what kind of happens with the stuff and how the stuff is priced. So lots of time people are really happy to give it to someone that they know personally. Yeah, you can definitely use that to your advantage. So there you have it. Those are the 4 questions that you should ask about sourcing items as a reseller in your area. And stay tuned for more informational content on how to up your reselling game. I'll see you next time.